Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture series of Computer Organization and Advanced Microprocessors. This is our lecture number 25th. These days we are discussing memory organization and management, and we have already discussed about what is memory, how does it work, what is the importance of the computer memory, and in the previous video we discussed about the classification of memory. So based on four different factors we classified the memory, and the first one was based on the functionality of the memory. So in this lecture we will discuss about the how all the memories are classified based on the functionality. Means we will see different functions of each and every memory, that is main memory, auxiliary, cache, CAM and virtual. So let's get going. So based on the functionality, as we know that we have a main memory, then we have auxiliary memory, then we have cache memories, and as we have already discussed that CAM and virtual memory both are the concept. So this slide we have already discussed, but we'll see each and every memory in detail in the next slides. Okay, so let's start with the main memory. So what is main memory first? So main memory is the place where your programs and data are kept, and when they will be kept, so at the time when the processor is actively using them. Because what happens when the program and the data becomes active, normally they get copied from the secondary memory to the main memory, and where the processor can interact with them. Now we need to keep in mind this copy remains in the secondary memory. See, it will be dumped into the main memory, but it will remain as it is in the secondary memory. So main memory is basically intimately connected to the processor or directly connected to the processor. So what happens when instructions and data getting moved from in or out, whatever the direction it is, so it becomes very fast. This processing becomes very fast because it is directly connected, right? Now, as we know that we normally call that a RAM is the main memory, right? And we know that RAM stands for the random access memory. So what the meaning of the random access? So the meaning of the random access, or a random, means that the memory cells can be accessed in any order. There is no any particular order, like it will search, or it will be accessed sequentially, or it will jump directly. It is randomly, so there is no any fixed order for that. And you know very well that RAM is nothing but the silicon chip which we use to implement main memory, right? So now let's take one example. That suppose someone is saying that computer has a 512 megabytes of RAM. Suppose someone says that I have a RAM with 512 megabytes. What does it mean? What they are talking about? So they are actually talking about that how big its main memory is. They are talking about the size. They are talking about the capacity of the main memory. And it is very interesting to know that the 1 megabyte of memory is really enough to hold approximately 1 million characters of a word processing document. 1 million means 10 raised to 6. That much of data can be stored in the 1 megabyte memory. And finally, nothing is permanent in the main memory. So whatever the data placed into the main memory from the secondary memory, it is on a temporary basis only. And so sometimes data are placed in a main memory for just a few seconds, because suppose we need it for a very short time, right? So as long as they are needed, they will remain in the main memory, and once it is done, it will be removed from the main memory. So this is the idea of the main memory. These are the points, basic points or important points of the about the main memory. Okay, now let's discuss about the auxiliary memory. So normally auxiliary memory, we also call them the secondary storage, right? And these are the non-volatile memory. So what is the meaning of the non-volatile memory? Non-volatile memory is something in which data retain as it is, or data remain as it is even on the power failure. We'll discuss about the volatile and non-volatile memory in little bit detail in the coming sections. Uh, Also, they are lowest in the cost, because if we compare the cost and the capacity of the main memory with the auxiliary memory, then we can see that the auxiliary memory are the lowest in the cost and the highest in the capacity. Of course, they are slowest access storage because it contains large amount of data and it has a different accessing algorithm or the different organization to store the data, and also it is not directly connected with the CPU, so it is a slowest access storage, we also call it. One more thing, that what is the actual function of the auxiliary store memory. So the programs and data are kept for the long term storage. So this is the function, main function of the auxiliary memory. So it is where program and data kept for long-term storage or when not in immediate use. Because if you are not using something immediately, in that case the data will be there in the secondary memory or in the auxiliary memory. And this type of memory, this is the auxiliary memory, they are normally tend to occur in the two types. That is the sequential access and the direct access. Sequential access is also called the linear access. So either it can be sequential access devices or the direct access devices. So what are the different examples? Let's see some examples. The most common sequential storage device is your hard disk or your hard disk drive. Whereas direct access devices may include like rotating drums, then disk, then CD-ROMs and the DVD-ROM. And basically, auxiliary memories are used as a permanent storage of data in any computer. It can be your mainframe or a supercomputer or your normal personal computer. So, this secondary storage are normally used for the permanent storage. Also, we refer this auxiliary memory as a secondary storage or a secondary memory or external storage or the external memory, whatever the name we can use. One more thing, that is the auxiliary memory is not directly accessible by the CPU because it is little bit far, and in between the auxiliary or the secondary memory and the CPU there are other memories like main is there, cache is there, so it is not the directly accessible by the CPU. So what happens? It stores non-critical systems, the system data like the large files or the documents or programs and any other backup of the information, and that all this data will be supplied to the primary memory from this auxiliary memory, and to transfer this amount of data it requires the high bandwidth channel, right? So of course whenever it is needed, like if it is required, then it will be copied from the main memory to the from the secondary memory to the main memory. And last point that you need to keep in mind, that it holds data for the future use. This is again the one more function. So it holds the data for the future use, and that data retains information even the power get fails. So all these are the concept or the idea about the auxiliary memory. Now let's discuss the cache memory. So we know that cache is normally resides between the CPU and the primary memory. So a CPU cache is nothing but the hardware cache which is normally used by the CPU. So and why we need cache? So it reduces the average cost or the time or the energy just to access the data from the main memory. So as you can see in the image that there is okay, so here we have the cache memory. So this cache memory is resides between the CPU and between the primary memory. So whenever any command or any execution is in a progress, so what happens first? Suppose I have some data over here. This is the permanent storage and I want to retrieve this information. So in that case, what happens? The CPU first, this data will be dumped into the primary memory and then into the cache memory. So here you can see that the cache memory is directly connected with the CPU. So of course, because there is a less difference, of course it is the faster. So if it is the question that accessing the data, speed of the accessing the data, then you can see from this diagram that secondary memory is bit far, right? So of course accessing time will be more. Then primary memory is little bit over here. That is a compared to secondary memory, it is closer to the CPU, but compared to cache, it is far from the CPU. So this is just a basic idea about the cache memory, that where actually cache memory resides. And of course, this cache is very small, but is a very fast, and it is, as you can see, that it is located very closer to the processor, and so it stores the copies of the data from the frequently used main memory locations. Whatever the suppose this data, in from this data, suppose I need only some portion of this data, so it will be dumped in the primary memory and that will be dumped into the cache memory. So all the data which is frequently used by the processor from the main memory, all the data will be dumped into the cache memory. And so we can say that your processor is a faster. So most of the CPUs have different independent cache, we know, right, including the instruction and the data cache, where the data cache is usually organized as a hierarchy or the form, as you can see in the image, like L1, L2, L3, like that. So of course L4 is also there, that will just go up to the L1, L2 and L3 levels. Okay, so this is the just a basic idea about the cache, that where actually cache resides. Okay, now let's see the cache in little bit detail. So cache memory is a very special type of memory and very high speed memory, and normally it is used to speed up and the synchronizing process with the high speed CPU. So why we need cache? Suppose it is us, why we need cache? So normally it is used to speed up the process and to synchronizing all the data or all the processes with the high-end CPU or a high-speed CPU. Yeah, actually cache is a costlier memory if we compare it with the main memory or the disk memory, whatever. So it is a little bit costlier memory, but economical than the CPU register, because we remember that hierarchy. So in a very top we have registers and then we have cache, then RAM and the secondary. So costlier than main but economical than the registers. And these are the extremely fast memory type. Why it is extremely fast? Because it is directly connected to the CPU, so the distance from the cache and the CPU is very less, so of course it will work more faster, right? And it acts as a buffer between the RAM and the CPU. So whatever the data CPU wants to use from the main memory, it will be there on a cache for the temporary basis. So also we can say that the cache is a buffer between the RAM and the CPU, right? Normally it was a frequently requested data and instruction. It is not like that all the data will be dumped into the cache. Data which are actually frequently used by the processor, all the data will be dumped into the cache. One more thing, that immediately available to the CPU when needed. What is the meaning of that? See, when you store or when you dump the data or when the data get dumped into the cache, it is immediately available to the CPU, and so we say that yeah, my system is very fast or it is running very smoothly. The reason is this, that all the frequently data is there in the cache. So the processor does not need to go to the secondary or even to the primary memory. The data is there in the cache, so it can use quickly or immediately that data is available. And yeah, this cache memory is normally used to reduce the average time to access the data from the main memory, because we know that ultimately the function of the buffer is that only it reduces the average time because it has a less distance, right? The cache is very small, yeah, very small in size, but it is very fast. So now I think you know, you got an idea that why it is faster. Small, that we can see, right? But why it is faster? It is faster because it is very closer to the CPU, and it normally stores the copies of the data which are frequently used from the main memory locations. This we have already discussed. One more thing, that there are various different types of the cache or various different independent cache in the CPU. In from them, some are in stores the instructions and some stores the data. So different levels of the cache are there, like L1, L2, L3 and L4 as well. So all about this cache, its labels and what are the different functions of the this levels, that all will be covered in will be covered in detail in the cache memories in later sections. So this is for now, this is about the cache memory. Okay, so now next memory is the CAM. CAM stands for the content addressable memory. So let's see that why it is called the content addressable memory, how does it work, and why we need this CAM, right? And this CAM is basically associated with the searching operation. So normally what happens, to search particular data in the memory, data is read from the certain address and compared. And if the match is not found, suppose the match is not found, it goes to the content of the next address and it will access that and again it will compare. So this process of accessing and comparing goes on until required data is found. Of course, we know that if we are looking for something and till we don't get that thing, until we don't get that required data, till the time we keep on searching and searching and searching. So this process goes on until required data is found. But the question is, number of access, how many times it will access the memory locations, right? So the number of access basically depends on the location of the data and the efficiency of the searching algorithm, because we don't know that where actually the data has been stored. So number of access is depending on two things, that is the location of the data and the efficiency of the searching algorithm. And the searching algorithm may vary from application to application and system to system. But this whole process takes too much time, because we don't know number of accesses, we don't know where actually the data is. So where we actually don't know where our stuff is, where is our stuff, in that case we search for everything, right? We search for each and every location. So, and of course, and so it takes more time. So the idea for the CAM is to reduce this time. This searching time can be reduced through the CAM. Through the CAM, so data is searched on the basis of the content. This is the main idea of the CAM. See, here in the image, I have searched the NO. So NO is my tag, right? So I don't know that where actually my NO is, or for which file I'm looking for. In that case, or where actually my file is stored. So in that case, what we do, we simply type the text in the search box, and it will list out all the content, all the files which contains this word, that word, and from the list we normally pick our file. So if you see this thing, if you notice that we are searching the data based on the content, right? We are searching what we are searching for. So that whatever we are searching, that we are searching based on the some particular word, that particular tag. And if that tag, if that text is there in the content, it will give in the result. So that's why this is called the content addressable memory, right? Now how does it work? How this can work? So a memory unit, any memory unit, a memory unit accessed by the content, right? So we call it a content addressable memory. And sometimes we also called it associative memory, or content addressable memory, or associative storage, or associative array. Now we were talking about that how does it work. So this accessed, this CAM, normally this type of memory is accessed simultaneously and in parallel on the basis of the data content. Here one very interesting example we can discuss, that suppose you are searching for two different words, like good and the morning, two different words we have. Now what it has to do, it has to search both the words simultaneously and in a parallel. How? Because it might be possible that I have, suppose I have 100 different documents, so it has to search both the words in all the 100 documents. And also, so this is the all the 100 documents it is searching, and also in parallel it has to search inside the document, that is that word is there. So actually what it is doing, it is working simultaneously and in parallel, so on the basis of the data content, that what you are actually looking for. So this is how this is how your CAM works. So this memory, this content addressable memory is capable of finding empty unused locations to store the word. This CAM is not only related with the reading operation, it is also associated with the writing operation, and it has that capability to find empty locations, empty unused locations. If you want to store something, that CAM is capable enough to find unused location, it will search for that location, it will store your data. So it is also the capability of the CAM. Now, this CAM is actually a very special type of memory. Why? Because it is used in certain very high speed searching applications, just like a search engine, or like that. So now the question is, how does it look like? Right? How CAM is look like? So CAM is nothing but a silicon chip architecture, and that is purpose built. That is we call the purpose built for extremely and fast but very specific type of memory lookups. And so this is very special type of memory. See, silicon chip architecture, because see it is very similar to RAM. Suppose I have a RAM, so I just need to modify my RAM by adding some more transistor, by applying some different logics, and basically this CAM is associated with the SRAM and the DRAM, that is the static RAM and the dynamic RAM. So that's why we can say that the CAM is a silicon silicon chip architecture. Now it operates like a hardware search engine for search intensive applications, compares input search data against a table of stored data. See, as you can see in the image, that whatever the result you got, list of result is there, so all that data is there inside the system, right? So there is one table which contains all this required, or this is already stored data. So how does it work? So it works like a search engine. It is working like a search engine. So whatever I have entered, it will search for all the possible or all the related content from the table. And finally when it will be achieved, or whenever it will be all the data will be found, and that time it will returns the address of the matching data. Because if you notice that when you search for any text, in the computer, normally it gives the address that where actually this file has been stored. So this is how your CAM works. Okay, so the final memory type is the virtual memory. So let's understand what is virtual memory. See, very first, virtual memory is not any silicon chip or a device or a physical thing which you can touch. But virtual memory is a pure technique, is a operating system's idea. It's a scheme. It's a scheme, storage allocation scheme in which secondary memory addressed as a part of the main memory. Let's understand that what is virtual memory and how does it work. See, here we have RAM, and as you know that RAM always have a limited capacity. Limited, it always comes in the limited size. But it might be possible that you are using so many applications together like a Photoshop, Corel Draw, and so many other things. So many other applications you are using, which actually the basic loading to load the basic components of the application you required more RAM. But what if you don't have that much space? Because your RAM is already full. See, your RAM is already full by the other applications, and still you are trying to load other applications which requires minimum this amount of RAM. So in that case, virtual memory helps here. How? See, what happens? Operating system goes to the hard disk and it will search for the empty locations or a free space. So it will look for the free space. Now see, this portion, this free space will behave like a RAM temporarily. So whatever I want to load in the RAM, but because my RAM is full, I am taking the help of the hard disk. I'll search for the free space, and that free space will behave as a RAM, and that is temporarily. And using the space of the hard disk temporarily and make it to behave as a RAM, this concept is known as the virtual memory, right? But the question is how processor will keep track that the data is coming from the actual RAM or from the hard disk space, that is from the virtual memory. So this is your virtual memory, this portion is your virtual memory. So for that, here we have the virtual memory table. We have a virtual table. So what happens, this table contains the address and it will map with both the memories. If you can see this, here we have the yellow locations, means this location contains the address of the data which are there in the virtual memory, and the orange color denotes that these are the addresses of the content which are there in the RAM. So this way processor can bifurcate and it can do the mapping. We will learn the mapping technique that because you might have a question that how system will know that which data we need to keep in a RAM and which data we need to keep in the virtual memory. So this happens through the mapping techniques that we will see in the later sections. So in short, the idea behind the virtual memory is to use so the idea behind the virtual memory is to use the hard disk free space, and we make this free space to behave like a RAM. Why? Because my RAM has a limited capacity, limited size, and currently it is full, but still I want to use the RAM, and so I use the technique called virtual memory. So this is the idea behind the virtual memory. Okay, so now we know that what is virtual memory and how does it work. So the virtual memory is a memory management capability of an operating system that uses hardware and software, both the things it use, and allow a computer to compensate for the physical memory shortage. We know that there was a shortage of the RAM, and by temporarily transferring data from RAM to the disk storage. And the operating system keeps the large program in the secondary memory and bring only a part of the program in the main memory, so we can work on that particular part. And the address generated by the CPU is known as the virtual address, and we have already seen that all these addresses will be tracked by the virtual table, and each virtual address is mapped to physical address in main memory only. So this is all about the virtual memory and how does it work. Okay, so it was all about the classified memory based on the functionality. So we discussed like what is the use of and what are the functions of all these different memories: main memory, auxiliary memory, cache, CAM, and the virtual memory. So more about the second category we will discuss in the next lecture. Till then, happy learning. Thank you.